Good evening. This is Herman Bourne delivering Unit 4 PowerPoint presentation for PA 6304, Waldorf University, Local Government Planning, on a policy issue dealing with nonprofits. The policy chosen is the Department of Labor and the proposed overtime reforms and how they will impact on nonprofits. This deals with updating the overtime threshold under the Fair Labor Standards Act, known as the FLSA, throughout the program. White collar exempt employees' salary threshold would rise to over $35,000. Highly compensated employees who are exempt would rise to over $147,000. The policy issue: FSL exempts certain employees from time and a half. The new reform discusses non-exempt employees or hourly wage employees, 40 hours a week. Exempt status has to be defined through a salary basis. Salary must meet the Department of Labor salary threshold. Duties must include executive, administrative, or professional activities. Again, the salary threshold is of the main concern through this reform. Policy proposes with the overtime regulations that would raise salary employees from $23,660 per year to $35,308. This could cause non-exempt employees to get more overtime, which would be additional funding not budgeted through the nonprofit. It also allows employers to treat non-discretionary bonuses and incentive payments to satisfy up to 10% of their standard salary level, which is incorporated through the wage income. As the salary updates were last reviewed and changed in 2004, the Department of Labor feels the need to put this reform into action. The Department of Labor intends to continue to review policy as the cost of living increases at every 4-year period. Policy concerns is the current salary level test. It's already low by the national standards when compared to the national poverty level, which is at 18%. It's reasonable to say that the salary level test is outdated. The high amount of salary increases at one time draws concerns, as this affects 7% of nonprofit employees nationwide versus that of 5% of private businesses nationwide. For-profit businesses operate unlike nonprofit businesses and can change the way they implement the cost of doing business, and can be increased to cover this particular reform as the added expense of salary changes. They are also entitled to seek labor standard equitable adjustments for protection against government mandated labor costs increases. The reality is that for-profit businesses contracting with the government have the ability to compensate for expense not foreseen upon initial contractual agreement. That would include this particular overtime reform policy. All public businesses can change the way they do business to make up the difference in the revenue by reducing employees, raising the price of their product or services, reduce the services, or they cut the resources. Nonprofits, on the other hand, are subsidized by grants or contracts with government agencies to include donations, fundraising activities, and volunteerism. They do not have the ability to seek equitable adjustments as the for-profit businesses do. This will, in their concern, will affect the population the organization serves or alter their mission of the nonprofit. The services, this would cause the population to be reduced. They wouldn't be able to offer the services fully as they have operated in the past with the lack of funds. The concern comes in with the exempt staff, because if they have to reduce the employees and they want to maintain the mission or continue the amount of services, exempt employees would have to work more. wouldn't be paid any different. This could cause them to go to the private sector. It also the FSLA is also has issues with the work flexibility and whether they can do flexible time or be compensated other ways. The National Council of Nonprofits conducted a survey in 2019. It came back with 5 main concerns. The organizations morally support but have operational anxiety. They have concerns about the citizen. They feel like they're caught between a rock and a hard place, having to deal with alternative ways to make up the difference to maintain the mission and the services that they provide. Nonprofits already operate with budget constraints very tight. And again, there's confusion about the current law and how they can compensate their employees with flex time. Dealing with each one individually, they morally support as a whole the overall good long-term would benefit the nonprofits. However, fair wages are needed for white-collar employees to keep them competitive with the private industry. Their operational anxiety comes with the immediate funds and how to pay for the increased wages. The operational revenue is already and costs are very tight. We're in a time frame of declining revenue, and the fact is that they want to perform their services safely and thoroughly. Under the public concerns, they're concerned about the citizens who use the nonprofits, how they will be affected, whether they won't be able to continue to meet the mission and meet the needs of the citizens. They're also concerned about the staff reduction because that seems to be the big point of what they would have to do initially by reducing staff and how they would be able to continue to operate. And thus this would affect the level of service for which they offer. With this decisions, it puts them between a rock and a hard place. Alternatively, trying to figure out how to operate with existing agreements while how to comply with the federal policy reform. They cannot conduct business like regular for-profit businesses and just change different things to meet their needs. The agreements for them are fixed, unlike for-profit businesses that can go in and negotiate contractual changes. They would be able to maintain a level of service, but with the higher cost, how are they going to fund this operation? Nonprofits already are subsidized by the government. They're already overloaded with work to meet the needs of the public. As such, they have no additional income for overhead costs. They would have to rely on more volunteers and donations to make up the difference, or again, compromise their mission. And reading throughout the article, it appears that the governments don't always reimburse through the agreements 100% of the contract, depending on the end of year budget. There's confusion about the current law. Under the current operational practices, they offer flex time or compensatory time. And this is whenever they may have to work odd hours of the day. They might have to work nighttime, evenings, come in on weekends, gives them times off other times throughout the week. With the FSLA change, this is very confusing as to whether they continue to operate this way. Dealing with a situational example here locally, we have the Good Shepherd House. Its mission is to meet the basic needs of a citizen through sheltering the homeless, feeding the hungry, offer affordable housing. Their funding is comprised of 19% subsidized by government, 25% individual and business donations, 21% events and fundraisers, 24% from foundations such as city government, county government, United Way, Veterans Affairs, for example. They have 19 employees that offer case management, counseling, transportation, soup kitchen, and second helping. Additionally, since they started offering the affordable housing and the different types of services, they work odd times a day, nighttime, and weekends. With this reform, this could alter any or all these services that they offer to the community. In conclusion, the policy change will affect how nonprofits conduct business on the immediate basis. Long term, it will be better. This can cause reduced services, thus affecting the citizen and the services they offer, and again, altering the mission. By reducing the employees through wage or change of hours of work, this policy needs to be further reviewed for proper implementation to coincide with the ability to address the new unexpected costs over time.